Okay, good afternoon. This is the Discover the State Library presentation. This is our civic engagement with your SCSL card. And my name is Melanie Griffin. I'm a public services librarian with the State Library, and so I'm going to be presenting today and let you know how you can use your State Library card for all sorts of active citizen engagement. Um, so first, I wanted to go over a couple things. We are recording this webinar. If you did not hear the recording now in progress, I did press that button before I started talking, so just FYI. And it is just me running this webinar, so if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the chat. I will get to them at the end of my presentation. We should have plenty of time for that. And you are more than welcome to hold on to your question and then raise your hand or just say something when we're done with the presentation too. But I just wanted to let you know that we will be saving the questions at the end so I can get those as thoroughly as possible. So it is 1:03 and we were scheduled to start at 1, so I'm going to go ahead and start my presentation. If anybody else comes in, we'll just let them through the waiting room. So let me pull up my presentation and we will get started. All right. Let's see, share. I will want to share that. Okay, so we are now screen sharing my presentation on here. So first of all, we're going to let you know what the South Carolina State Library is. We are a special library just because we are a state library and we don't fall squarely into the definition of public or academic library. So what do we do? First of all, we provide support for the state's libraries. So as you know, there are a number of public libraries and other sorts of libraries within the state. We offer support for them in the form of classes, in the form of materials, and in the form of infrastructure. And so that's part of what we do. We also do have a few collections within our library, and most of our collections focus on South Carolina. And this includes documents from South Carolina government and other state agencies. Now, that's not all we collect, but we are a repository for, especially for state agency publicly facing publications. And so that's a big thing. We solicit all the state agencies to give those to us so we can catalog and archive them and have them available for whoever wants to check them out. And then, of course, we have a lot of South Carolina state government current and historical materials and documents. And I will get into both of those a little bit later in the presentation in more detail because that's part of what we're talking about today. But our collections that focus on South Carolina, we also have a lot of traditional books, and we also have a little bit of multimedia, but a lot of our South Carolina collection is books that either are about South Carolina or they're written by somebody from South Carolina. So I encourage you to check out our catalog and see what we have because there's a lot of interesting things that you may not realize have anything to do with the state. I know that was one of the fun things I got to do when I was poking around when I first got here. So having said all that, we do have public access to research help and materials. So I'm one of the research librarians that you can talk to. I am at the front desk and along with my coworkers in my department, we switch off. And so we are there to help you from the public access our materials. And we're also there for research help. If you have questions about things that aren't South Carolina centric, please go ahead and ask us. We will be happy to help you with anything you have a question about. All right, so that's what the State Library does. And so now we're going to get into the specifics of my presentation today. Civic engagement at the state library, we are happy to be able to provide a number of resources that help you stay engaged with your community and also become more informed as a general citizen. That is super important. And so we want y'all to be able to do that with our material, and here is how you can do that. I've broken this up into 4 sections, and like I said, we'll get into more details with each of them as we go along. And the first I wanted to let y'all know about is news sources. So unfortunately, we do not have any paper news sources. Paper newspapers that are available, but we do have a lot of newspaper databases, and I like those even more because you don't have to shuffle through them. You can look at them online, and they're a lot easier to keep organized. And they are the exact things of what are put in the physical papers as well. So we'll look through a couple of those specifically so you can see what I mean. But they're great for keeping up with the news, and they're also great for historical research. And we don't just have databases for South Carolina papers. Of course, that still is our major focus, but several of the newspaper databases that we have also include national, and a few have international news sources. So it's not just a way to keep up with South Carolina, but the world in general. We also have, as I was mentioning, South Carolina and US government documents. That includes stuff like voter information and free state agency publications and a lot more. And so we do have some of the US government printing press information and materials that they put out. That includes the US code and updates on that, and selective material from there. We are not a full collector of the US government documents, but we are a selective repository. And that is something that we can offer you as well as state information. And I mentioned voter information specifically because that is some of the examples that we have out on display currently. So again, we'll get into that in just a moment. We also have a lot of material on information and media literacy, and this is my favorite subject to talk about because it's so important, as well as the other programming and sort of day-to-day things. We help other libraries other libraries in South Carolina. We help them with that, but we also help them with more abstract things, such as thinking about programming, thinking about how to structure their particular collections for their audiences and patrons, and also things like information and media literacy. That is a subject that all libraries deal with each and every day, and we want to instill those in our patrons. And it's not just for libraries and librarians. We're the ones that studied it, but you guys are the ones that use it every single day as well, whether you realize it or not. And so we have information on that, and we have Discus and other research databases, and then we also have webinars and public programs like the one we're doing right now. And then I'll also talk briefly about our South Carolina legal material. We have current and historical material. We also have public-facing legislative materials and guidelines about your rights from different state organizations. Now, that is also a very important part of our collection, and I want to say right now, up top, we are not lawyers. We're librarians. We cannot give you any legal advice that is against the law and not what we're trained for. However, we do have legal material that you are welcome to look at, and we know where to find things. We have knowledge on how to use some legal material as far as looking things up, and we're more than happy to do research like that for you. But just to clarify, we are not lawyers, and we should not be treated as such, just FYI. Okay, so first we're going to talk about, let me make sure I didn't, okay. First, we're going to talk about the news sources that you can access with your South Carolina State Library card. So we have a number of them within our online resources database, and I will show you guys a little bit more of that when we get to our information literacy. But just know for now that we have a list of A to Z electronic resources, and when you click the N, you will see our newspaper databases. So first of all, we have Newsbank, we have Newspaper Source Plus, we have Newspaper Archive, we have Newspapers Historical Black Newspaper Collection, Newspapers U.S. Major Dailies, and Newswires. So you can read the description on each of these, and they will let you know the more specifics about what you want to see. I really like Newsbank because it's a really great combination of current and historical. It's got a lot of sources, as you can see, from over 600 US and over 20 South Carolina newspapers. So it's really great, and I really like their search function. Their search function is great too. So we don't have a whole lot of time to get into the nitty-gritty of each of these, but I will show you a little bit of what Newsbank looks like in a minute, just to show you how you can use it to keep up with the news. So in these databases, we have they are updated on the paper's individual schedules. So for instance, this one does have current issues of the state, and how it goes now is the state puts out, I believe it's 3 physical issues a week. And so those are like scans of the physical issues of the state. And then on the other 4 days of the week, the state does a digital issue. And so those are also uploaded to the databases. So you don't have to worry about whether you have a print subscription, electronic subscription, both. Those are all in there for you to see through this electronic database. And that goes for all the papers too. We have a lot of historical papers that were updated once a week, or 2 or 3 times a week, and so you can see what their schedules are within the database. This gives you access to state and national news as it happens. And this is very important, of course. Everything is happening all at once nowadays. And so if you want to see your favorite paper cover a specific subject as it's happening, it will be uploaded to these databases. It won't be quite as fast as when the papers put things online immediately, which is unfortunate if you are watching a breaking story, but in my experience, it's actually good to wait a little while for coverage that comes a little bit later, because that means some of the confusing information will be clarified. And so that's another reason I like these databases. Most of the stories that are updated on here will be ones that have the sort of the final say, as much as that can be uploaded to one of the papers. So let's see. You also have wide coverage to get a full picture of stories, both current and historical. And that's what I love about it. We do a lot of historical research here. And I always go into one of our newspaper databases and check on the subject during their time period when the event happened, and you can learn so much. There's legislation that was passed on a certain year that you can look up in the paper and see if there was any commentary on it. And so you can just get a very full picture of stories, both going on today and when they were actually happening in their historical context. And context is everything. So your South Carolina State Library card helps you put everything into context, and that helps you decide how you can engage further with that information. So like I said, it's in the newspaper section of our A to Z databases list. And so I'm going to share, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing this for a moment and then share our website here. Oops, let's get this over here. Okay, so this is what I mean by our A to Z databases. This is where we store and organize our electronic resources. And so you can see that I've clicked on the N, and that gives me all of the newspapers here, as in the photo that I put on there, or the screen grab, I should say. So I'm going to show you our Newsbank database and what it looks like real quick. Access to World News. This is a logged in version. If you are not logged in on your computer, you will get a pop-up that asks you for your South Carolina State Library card and your PIN, your personal ID number. So you do need a South Carolina State Library card to access this. And I would highly recommend you getting one, and we will go through the details of how to get a library card later on in this presentation. But this is our news bank. Once you log in, you can scroll down. You see quick links, hot topics, daily headlines, and lesson plans. If you're educating folks or you just want to educate yourself, those are very useful. And as you can see over here in the blue, we have some South Carolina specific sources. So the Charleston Post and Courier, Columbia Record, which is what the state used to be, and then the State Historical and Current Collection. So these are the three that I probably use the most. However, we also have a General South Carolina button, a General USA button, and America's News Magazines button. So if you don't know where you want to go, or if you want to get a variety of sources within the state or within the United States, these are great general places to search. And as you can tell, the middle here has a lot of different genres of headlines that you can also search. So Newsbank is great to keep yourself informed and to keep yourself engaged as a citizen of both South Carolina and the country and the world. All right, so we're going to go back to my presentation. So I'm going to stop sharing that and start sharing this again. Okie doke. Go back to presentation mode. Okay. Oops. Okay, so we are here. Okay. So there are also a few other news sources that we work with at the state library. And so if you have a question and are going to be using news sources for some of your sources, there's a couple other places you can go. We do partner with the University of South Carolina with their digitized historical newspapers collection. We have a presentation about that on our YouTube page, which will be the same place that this is. So go check that out for more details. And we also use Library of Congress's Chronicling America project, which is great for historical context. And I want to emphasize that Chronicling America, that is historical newspapers. Those are up to 1963, I believe, is what they have now. And that is because of copyright and different ownership models of the different papers that they are scanning into their project. That is also an ongoing project. And so if you don't find what you want from it now, go back in a few months and they may have that. So those are both places that we partner with a lot, mostly for historical newspapers. And within the context of our collection, we also have some state agency magazines. Now, not all South Carolina state agencies put out like a magazine or newsletter, but those that do, we solicit those from folks, and you can read those from our collection. Some of them are actually free for people who can stop by the library, no checkout needed or anything. So These state agency magazines, they help you stay informed and engaged with the different aspects of the state government and also areas of the state that you might not have any information about otherwise. So like the Department of Natural Resources in the state, they put out South Carolina Wildlife, which is a great magazine that comes out every 2 months. They have a lot of information about hunting and fishing and general wildlife management, as well as conservation and plants and everything that the DNR is dealing with. And then you've also got the agricultural magazine that the agricultural department comes out with. And they also have a lot of interesting information about farming and about the different food opportunities that folks are finding in South Carolina. And those are just a couple examples. I've got a couple more over here. These are on display. And so with your South Carolina State Library card, you can check out all of these display materials that I'm showing you guys. They will be in the front part of the library itself if you can visit. If you can't, you can find them in our catalog, and we'll be happy to get those to you any way that we can. So I'm going to give you a short tour about what we have around here, because these are our South Carolina journals and magazines. So we have some that are area specific, such as the Old Pendleton District Messenger and the Darlington Flag. We've also got several Charleston magazines. Charleston is a big area for magazines because they have such gorgeous scenery and they've got a lot of culture going on over there. Of course, we do all over the state, but they've got some pretty photos. Sassy is a magazine that is curated for women in South Carolina. We also have our Columbia Business Report, and we have Panorama, which is an African American publication that's a free weekly magazine that covers the Midlands, I believe. And then we have the Local Palette, which is, I forget where that is published, but it is a South Carolina magazine, and it has so many good ideas about food and all of that fun stuff. So you can see our state news sources collection. It helps you stay informed and engaged as a state citizen in all sorts of areas that you could think of. They're really great, and a lot of folks don't know that they're still produced. So please let us know if you have any interest in these, and we will be happy to show you what we have. All right, so now we're moving on to information and media literacy. Like I said, we have a lot of information and material about that. So first, I wanted to define information and media literacy. They are very close together, but they're slightly different. So I wanted to differentiate those. So information literacy, that is a set of skills that people need to find, understand, evaluate, and share information. So it sounds simple, but it's really difficult to find something and evaluate it in this day and age with so many people putting out so much information at once. That's been the main challenge for information professionals, like we like to call ourselves, and also kids learning about research and sources for the first time, and also just everyday people trying to get through their lives with the right information. So information literacy is super important. It is deceptively simple. It's something that you have to work at every time you read a source. And that brings us to media literacy. This is a subset of information literacy that concentrates on evaluating mass media messages. So information literacy is evaluating all sorts of information. Media literacy is specifically evaluating the news and mass media messages, not necessarily just the news media. And I have to say that because mass media has come to mean so much more than just your 11 o'clock news broadcast, or your daily paper. There's a lot more out there. Some of them are very gray areas, whether they're news or opinion. And so you have to evaluate those and make sure that you're getting the right information. Both are super important to know how to navigate your world. And I just want to emphasize that you need to know true, complete information about what's going on to engage with the world in the way that you want to. That's not about being political. That's not about being anything except a human being who is trying to survive in the world. And don't mean to make it sound super dire, because it's not. We've got plenty of professionals and plenty of folks who are doing it right and can help you. So don't worry if you think that you need to brush up on these skills. We have a lot of information and a lot of materials that can help you do that. And also, we're here to help you evaluate as well. So, okay. So, I picked this book to show you the training materials that we have. And this is one of our new books. And that is the main reason I picked it, because there are thousands information literacy and critical thinking books on our shelf. That may be an exaggeration, but honestly not by much. We just want to make sure that we have everything covered, and it's a constantly evolving subject. And so we get a lot of training materials. We also get a lot of aspects and comments and different perspectives on it. So we have the whole subject covered if you ever wanted to use any of our materials on that. And again, not just for librarians. It's really important to us because that's what we do, but it's also really important to you to make sure you know what you are looking at and looking for all day, every day, with whatever information comes your way. So we have a physical book collection such as this. This is in our new arrivals section, and it will soon go into our general collection upstairs. And if you type in information literacy in our catalog, a number of our physical books will come up. And also, I believe, yes, our catalog also searches our electronic collection as well. And if you need any help differentiating between our physical and our electronic collections, just let one of us know, and we will help you figure that out, because sometimes in the catalog it's a little bit unclear whether you're getting a physical book or something else. And then we also have our public programming. Like I said, thank you all very much for joining us today. I really appreciate that. Like I said, this is a subject that is super important to me. And so we are very glad that you're here. And just wanted to let you know that we do have public programming on a lot of different things. And we have public programming on a lot of South Carolina historical information, a lot of contemporary authors who are part of South Carolina's artistic area. We also have a lot of how-tos as far as how to use materials. We have one librarian is a specialist in grants and grant material. And so if you're thinking of getting a grant for a nonprofit that you want to start or that you are with, she's great and does a lot of different programming on that. And we also have programming that is just in the general interest of South Carolina folks. So recently I ran a program about our Freedom of Information Act. I try to do that every year because that's super important. And we had the Press Association talk about their experience. And then I have a colleague, I should call him, a friend of mine from J School who has a lot of experience also with Freedom of Information Act information. And so we get those folks to come and talk every year. And then we also have The League of Women Voters occasionally do a program with us, especially when it is an election year, and all sorts of things like that. So um, stay tuned to our website. We do have an events page where you can see what is coming up. And if any of those things interest you, please sign up. They're all free. Some of them are online like this, and some of them are in person. If you're unable to come to something in person, let us know and we will gather some material for you, whatever you need to do. And that brings me to our one-on-one research help. My personal favorite part of the job, because that means I get to poke around in a lot of different subjects. I never know what's going to come up. It's great. However, if you don't need me to answer your question, but you just want to know, hey, what sort of resources are good for blank? Do you know a good source for blank? Also very happy to do that for you because there's a lot of resources out there, as I've been mentioning, and it gets harder and harder to differentiate which ones are good and which ones are not. And that includes those that are behind paywalls and those that are not. I am specializing in open source research information, and that means research material that is open to everybody. It's free and open to use without having to pay or even have a library card sometimes. And so that gets the information out to a lot of folks. So these training materials, just to let you know, if you do want to check any of them out, if you want to check anything out, you do need a South Carolina State Library card. However, the public programming and the one-on-one research help, those don't require a state library card. We are happy to get you one as soon as you want, but we will also take your questions, and you can sign up for a programming without a card. But get a card because they're great. All right. And so next on the list, this is for our Discus research databases. I'm signaling out Discus because we have a lot of those research databases that are within the Discus umbrella. So for those of you that don't know, Discus is a collection of research databases. And you can tell which ones are within the Discus umbrella by the little orange and green rectangles that they have next to their names. So that does require a specific login and your South Carolina State Library card, but we are more than happy to give those to you. A lot of the Discus research databases are aimed at K through 12 or other school-based folks, but not all of them. A surprising amount are also for adults or just general public folks who want to use them. And also a wide variety of subjects like Britannica ImageQuest Junior, that is obviously for pre-K to second grade students. And they've got a lot of educational images that you can use for younger students and also teachers of younger students, of course. But then we also have something like the Chilton Library, which is the Chilton Automotive Repair Manual. Those are amazing. I am not a fix your own car person, but I do like to know the general, what do I need for my car kind of thing. And the Chilton Automotive Repair Manuals are the standard. They have been for decades. And if you have ever seen the physical ones, they're like phone books. And so we don't collect the physical ones, but we do have an electronic database of them, and it's great to page through if you are a self-repair person or if you just like to know basics about cars. And we also have hobbies and crafts source. I use this one too because I like doing crafts, and it's got a lot of information about beginning, intermediate, and advanced things. So again, this is not something you would necessarily use for school, but it is great for folks who just want the information to use themselves. You can become a crafter with these, and it's great. And so, yeah, so these cover a wide range of subjects. They have a wide age range. And then we also have Discus experts available. I use Discus as a researcher. They know the ins and outs of Discus and how to utilize that best. If you're a teacher, if you are anybody in charge of helping kids research, they are available to walk you through sort of a training or whatever you want to do for that. We've got lots of folks who are on Discus, and that is their full-time position, so there are lots of ins and outs of it. Okay, let's see. Okay, and so I just wanted to show you a little bit more of our physical collection. We also have a good amount on intellectual freedom. We've got the South Carolina Specific Intellectual Freedom Handbook, and then several of these are published by associations of library members, and so they are specific to that. But again, they do have subjects that apply to everybody. Intellectual freedom is very important, and so you can use these to educate yourself on it and then see where you want to go with it yourself. All right, okay. So now we move on to the government documents that we have. We do have separate sections of South Carolina state documents and then US documents. So right now we'll talk about the South Carolina state documents. We concentrate on those more. Those are part of our central collection. We have a lot of information for you as a South Carolina citizen. Example, we have voter registration information, and that's not in this picture because I just didn't take a picture of it for our display, but we do have that in there. We have civil literacy, which I really appreciate that phrase because that is something that Clemson put out about educating folks on the governmental process and civics and how that works in the state. And then another one that I really appreciate from Clemson is the legislative process in South Carolina, a citizen's guide. So that one is really helpful because the legislative process at any point can be very confusing and very obtuse, but we have information that helps you go through that and see how you can use that to your own advantage. And let's see, public-facing publications from state agencies. So yes, I will say this phrase a lot because that is a lot of what we do. So all of these are considered public-facing publications from state agencies. Those are publications that state agencies deliberately make public for public access, for public information. They are yours as a citizen of South Carolina to read. So we have plenty of those. A lot of folks don't realize what's put out by the state agencies, and so they don't realize they do have that right to get those and read them. We collect them as much as we can. So come by and check out what we have. And you can also use our digitized collection as well. A lot of these state agency publications we digitize. The digitization process is not a strict one-on-one process, so you might not find something digitized yet, but we are working hard and day by day to get all of these things at your fingertips so you don't have to come down here or get us to copy a portion or anything like that. Although we will, but a lot of times it's easier just to go directly to the publication itself. And that brings up the fact that a lot of agencies are going only digital with their publications as well. So if something goes straight from a public agency to us and it's digitized, we will just put that straight within our digital space, which I will show you all in a moment. So we also have US government documents, US federal documents. So we have this sticker in our front door, Federal Depository Library. We don't, as I said, we are a selective federal depository. We don't collect every single thing that's put out, but we collect a majority of it. And so much like the state docs, we have public facing material that is from the US government. There's a lot of it is again going online, but we do have a lot of the print ones as well. And so there are changes to federal laws and regulations that are probably the most useful and most regularly updated ones. If you wanted to check on those, we do have copies of those, and they're available to everyone. And that is what I want to stress. All of this is available to everyone. If you do want to bring things home with you, if you do want to check things out, and some of the electronic resources, you will need a South Carolina State Library to do so, South Carolina State Library card to do so, but we're more than happy to set you up. And this is just more government documents. These are the state documents. This is a little bit of the voter information that I was talking about. And then we've also got some Constitution information, civics engagements, keeping America informed, all of that fun stuff. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the South Carolina legal materials. And again, I want to note we aren't lawyers. We're not lawyers and we can't help you with legal advice. However, if you have a specific research question, we can help you figure out where to find it in our legal collection. So we do have physical copies of current and historical South Carolina codes, and those are the codes of law for South Carolina. We have the most current code of law downstairs in our research room. You can come in and look at it and page through. And that is updated whenever the state updates things for us. And then we also have physical copies of historical South Carolina codes from like the 70s, 60s, 50s. We have physical copies all the way down to the original Constitution of the state. We have a lot of legislative materials that are historical and current, some that range from historical to current. Like one of my favorite parts of this collection is are the Senate and House journals. Those go back to the early 1800s and they are still going strong today. um, they show what goes on in the state House of Representatives and the state Senate every day that they are in session. And you can track laws, the progress of laws from bills, from first readings, from going back to different committees, to votes. It's really interesting to track legislation through that. So we have that. And we also have what's called acts and resolutions. That is a collection of resolutions from the House and Senate, and they are being progressively digitized. All of this is being progressively digitized, which is great not only for y'all, but for us to look through, because I don't know if you've seen a single volume in a legal collection. It's very thick. So we are excited about the digitized progression of our legal material. It also helps us preserve historical material while still letting folks see it, which I think is key. Giving everybody access to our historical legislative materials is a key way of getting context up through today, why things are happening as they are. And so we're really excited to be able to still let folks look at historical materials without damaging or compromising the materials themselves. It's very exciting. And we also have a page of census data infographics about each state congressional district. I'm going to click on that and see if we can, let's see, Google Chrome. Okay, and so now I'm going to share here and show you. So it's not super exciting to see listed like this, I'll be honest, but this is how we have them listed, so it didn't take a lot of space. But you can see that we have each district of the House and Senate, and we used census information to make a wonderful graphic that comes up. And our awesome graphic designer, Addie, she does this and it's great. I just give her the information and she comes back with these lovely graphs. So these are mostly used by our legislative folks, but they are not just for those folks. We set them up so that our representatives and our senators could look at their district at a quick glance, and you can do that too as a patron and a citizen. Um, so if you wanted to see, for instance, District 8, this is Anderson County in the House of Representatives, so you can look at that and see what kind of demographics are there. And so we update those when the when the census is updated on those. All right, so let's get back to our presentation. Okay, so we're gonna go down here. Okay. How to navigate, there we go. All right. So how to navigate our material. We have several ways of doing this. In the material, a lot of the material that you will be finding in these different places, they may not have indexes or tables of content. So a lot of the state agency materials are not books, they are flyers or they're pamphlets or they're something pretty small that you can page through. And so sometimes they will have tables of contents, which are a lot easier to navigate. But the bigger materials, such as the legal books, I would definitely recommend using their indexes, because the index is where you can look for a specific word and see if that is a subject within the material. And for legal and legislative material, that is key to not having to page through thousands of different pages or volumes. And also in legal and legislative material, a lot of the tables of content will just show you like, oh, this is for this day, this is for that day, this is for this law, this is for whatever. So you don't necessarily, if you don't know the exact date or law or whatever that you're looking for, look up the index and you will see a list of subjects that will be a lot easier. You can also look at the endnotes and works cited for further information. Endnotes and works cited are really great in training material. There's never enough time to tell everybody everything they need to know. So a lot of times folks will add either the places they got things or where to go further. And so you can look for those to see where you can go next. And then our South Carolina Lens catalog, we have a lot of material in there. And so you can use keywords, you can use date ranges, you can use subject headings and authors. And you can also use us, your research librarians. I would recommend going with keywords first. They are great, and you don't have to be 100,000% specifically right on what you're doing. The search algorithm will catch what you are. They'll pick up what you're putting down basically and show you a bunch of options. And then you can always ask us if you're just running into dead ends, and we will be happy to help. So that is my presentation on the material for our civic engagement. I did want to show you how to sign up for a South Carolina State Library card. It is South Carolina's, oops, let me stop this here, and then let me do this over here. There we go. Okay. So we are sharing our area of the website where you can sign up for a state library card. It's free. We'll never charge you any sign-up fee or anything like that. You do need to live within South Carolina, and you do need to be ages 18 and older. That is because we do not have a lot of things aimed at children. Excuse me. And so most of our material are for folks who are doing research for non-juvenile material. But we do have two options for our library cards to access our services. So first we have physical cards, and then we have e-cards. So if you are not sure the differences, I will let you know, and we are also working on a video for that, so stay tuned. The physical cards, you will sign up for that on the website, and then we as librarians will process that and send you a physical card to your mailing address. That physical card means you can use that on our website, and you can use it to check out physical materials. If you want to apply for our e-card, we also process that, and that means you will get instant access to all digital services and materials. So if you live, say, in Horry County, and you know you're never going to make it to the state library physically, but you want to use our news bank, you want to use our research databases, you want to use all of that, get an e-card, you sign up, instantly get access to all of that, and you don't have to worry about getting a physical card mailed to you. However, if you are doing a lot of historical research, if you can't find what you want on our website or in the electronic databases, and you know you're going to need to check something out, or come here and you want to browse our public area and pick up some physical materials, get a physical card. Either way, you have great access to all of our material, and we are more than happy to work with you on that to get you what you need to do. And so that is how you can become engaging and civically engaged and all of that good stuff with your South Carolina State Library card. We're very excited for all of the information that we offer. And if you don't have a card yet, we'll be happy to get that for you. We are just very excited about that. And let's see. I'm going to see if there are any questions in the chat, and then we will see what we are doing. Okay. So I do not see any questions in the chat. If you have any questions, if you think of any later, let me know. Please feel free. I'll put up my contact information in just a moment once we get done with this. I did want to share with you our next webinar. We have our upcoming event, From Colony to Community, 3 Centuries of South Carolina Culture. So that's going to be really exciting. One of my coworkers is going to be walking you through all of that and just a whole lot of South Carolina history. And so it's going to be very exciting, very jam-packed with information. And we also have our events. I'm going to go up here, and you can see our calendar over here. Let's see, today is the 30th. So we have several things on the books. Let's see what we have coming up in October. The green information, those are discus sessions. And then we also have one of our grants research material programs coming up, Finding a Fundraiser for Your Nonprofit. And then that is our From Colony to Community. So we have a lot coming up. Make sure to check this page of the library website to see what we have going on. All right. I think that is it. And so let me put my contact info real quick up here. So my name is Melanie Griffin, and if you want to get in touch with me, oh, I'm sorry. We'll go back down here and just leave it like this. Okay, so that is my email, mgriffin@statelibrary.sc.gov. Emails are great because then you can write everything out. You can also call our reference desk. That is 803-734-8026. And we would love to take any questions you have. All right. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.